Trump holds talks with Starmer at UK Prime Minister's country home. What we're covering. President Donald Trump, sitting beside Prime Minister Keir Starmer, emphasized the unbreakable bond between the United States and United Kingdom today as they held talks at the Prime Minister's country home on the second day of the U.S. leader's state visit. A host of topics were expected to come up at their meeting, including Russia's war in Ukraine, Israel's war in Gaza and trade. Both leaders are due to hold a news conference in the next hour that you'll be able to follow here. Trump's first full day in Britain was more ceremonial as he joined the royal family at Windsor Castle and attended a state banquet. How have previous Trump-Starmer meetings gone? When he met Donald Trump at the Oval Office in February, Keir Starmer wasted little time in brandishing a letter from King Charles III, inviting him for a second state visit to the United Kingdom. Starmer, a man not prone to effusiveness, stressed that this visit would be historic, incredible, unprecedented. Trump is the first foreign leader to be invited for 2 UK state visits. Starmer's combination of flattery, deference and a Trumpian penchant for the superlative seemed to work. Trump was delighted with his invitation. When Trump's tariffs were unveiled in April, Britain was spared the more punitive rates. And when the president left the G7 summit in Canada early, Trump paused to praise his relationship with Starmer. We've become friends in a short period of time. He's slightly more liberal than I am, to put it mildly. But for some reason we get along, Trump said. When the pair met in Scotland in July, Starmer was under pressure to discuss the starvation crisis in Gaza due to Israel's blockade. Some feared Starmer's language. He said Britons were revolted by images of starving children, could anger Trump. But the president concurred with Starmer, saying there was real starvation in the enclave. Instead, Trump's main gripe during that trip was over Britain's reluctance to drill more oil in the North Sea, and over the wind farms which he said spoiled the view from his golf course in Turnberry, and were driving the Wales loco. Trump emphasizes unbreakable bond between the US and UK. President Donald Trump, sitting beside Prime Minister Keir Starmer during remarks to business leaders, emphasized the unbreakable bond between the US and the UK. I think it's an unbreakable bond we have regardless of what we're doing today. I think it's unbreakable, the president said at the roundtable event held at the Prime Minister's country estate. In May, the United Kingdom became the first country to make a trade deal with the United States during my second term, and we sort of wanted to make it the first, because the bond is so strong and the relationship so long, he added. One of Starmer's chief objectives with Trump was striking a new trade deal, something he managed to accomplish quickly, even as other countries scrambled for weeks to negotiate plans to avoid sweeping tariffs. Starmer talks up UK achievements while welcoming US investment. A day ago, Jensen Huang, the CEO of Nvidia, said the UK was too humble about its achievements. The same could not be said of Keir Starmer's address to business leaders, including Huang, at Chequers. The UK is one of the world's largest economies. Maybe not quite on the scale of the United States, but we punch above our weight, and we led the world in expertise on quantum, AI, life sciences and financial services, Starmer said. We have the best investment, the best universities, the most Nobel Prizes, Starmer added. That's what we bring to the table, and we are proud of it. Starmer welcomed fresh investment from Nvidia, OpenAI and Google, thanking business leaders for supporting the UK's vision. Now, Starmer and Trump hold briefing on UK-US tech deal. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer and US President Donald Trump are giving a briefing at Chequers on the new tech prosperity deal between the two countries. We'll bring you lines as we get them. Nvidia CEO hails Goldilocks moment for Britain's AI industry, but not everyone is convinced. Jensen Huang, the chief executive of the world's leading chipmaker, was one of several US tech bosses invited to last night's state banquet by King Charles III. At a news conference yesterday in London, the Nvidia CEO predicted the UK can become an AI superpower and announced a new £500 million, $681 million, in N-Scale, a UK cloud computing company. Huang said Nvidia was selling 120,000 chips to the UK, allowing it to build a supercomputer 100 times larger than the fastest one currently in the country. Speaking today outside Chequers, where US President Donald Trump is holding talks with Prime Minister Keir Starmer, Huang said the UK's artificial intelligence industry had reached a Goldilocks moment. The UK is the home of some of the brightest AI researchers, some of the best universities, a really vibrant AI startup ecosystem, Huang said. All of this flywheel is actually right here, it just needs infrastructure. Building that infrastructure will create skilled jobs and spur economic growth in Britain, he said. Despite Huang's optimism, Nick Clegg, Meta's former president of global affairs and the UK's former deputy prime minister, has cast doubts on the claims of the AI industry. On Wednesday, Clegg said the UK risked getting sloppy seconds from Silicon Valley, and that the tech deals unveiled during Trump's visit were mutton dressed as lamb. There are also concerns that building new energy-hungry AI data centers will require the UK to burn more fossil fuels. King Charles has left Windsor. It appears that King Charles has now left Windsor Castle, after saying goodbye to Donald and Melania Trump earlier. At lunchtime, the Union flag could be seen flying over the royal residence, rather than the royal standard. The royal standard is the monarch's personal flag and flies from the castle's round tower when he is in residence. How much Trump's visit could cost the British state? British authorities will not make public the cost of US President Donald Trump's second state visit for some time. But the cost of his first state visit sheds some light on the bill the British state has to foot for these big set-piece events. Trump's previous state visit in 2019 cost the UK around £3.9 million, $5.3 million. Most of that was spent on policing. London's Metropolitan Police spent around £3.4 million on the visit, with more than 6,300 officers deployed, British media reported at the time. The rest of the tab was paid by the UK Foreign Office. Nearly £100,000 was spent on entertainment, with around £32,000 spent on accommodation and £33,000 on transportation. Unlike in 2019, Trump is spending hardly any time in London. During his first visit, Trump was received at Buckingham Palace, in the heart of the capital. This time, he is being kept at more of a distance from the British public. While thousands protested in London against Trump's visit on Wednesday, far fewer had flocked to Windsor, where he was staying. A long-term investment. The overall cost, though, will be dwarfed by the amount of investment in Britain that US companies have announced to mark Trump's second visit. The British government announced yesterday that it had secured £150 billion, $205 billion, of investment from US companies, which it hopes will create more than 7,600 jobs. The Princess and the First Lady go outside. At Catherine, Princess of Wales and First Lady Melania Trump's outside event with scouts, their sartorial choices matched their surroundings. The First Lady, who wore an embroidered tan leather suit and skirt during an earlier appearance with Queen Camilla, changed her outfit midday to reflect the engagement's outdoorsy theme. She traded stilettos for flats with a pair of fitted khakis and a tan military jacket. Kate opted for a forest green and earthy brown ensemble, her skirt by American brand Ralph Lauren. Meanwhile, her choice of scarf from Sudbury Mills was another chance to spotlight British craftsmanship. She visited the mill last week on an engagement where she watched production of the silk jacquard and helped weave. Catch up on the latest from day 2 of Trump's state visit to the UK. We're in the middle of covering the second day of President Donald Trump's state visit to the United Kingdom. This morning, he bid farewell to the royal family at Windsor Castle and is now at Chequers, the British Prime Minister's country house in Buckinghamshire, participating in a bilateral meeting. Trump's time at Windsor Castle was filled with pomp and flattery, but today's meeting with Keir Starmer will be more businesslike with several sensitive foreign policy issues on the table. If you're just joining us, here's what's happened so far and what's to come. The First Lady hangs back. While Trump left Windsor Castle this morning, Queen Camilla hosted First Lady Melania Trump for a private tour of the castle's royal library, viewing a series of treasures meaningful to both countries. Ukraine nod and Zelensky reaction. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky thanked Britain's King Charles for his steadfast support for Ukraine, saying that he would later today sign the 100-year partnership agreement between the two countries. The comments come after the king made a fleeting reference to the threat facing Ukraine in remarks at a banquet last night for Trump. Bilateral meeting. Topics expected to come up at today's meeting in Chequers include Russia's war in Ukraine, Israel's war in Gaza and trade. The two leaders will also be joined by a host of technology CEOs, who will be on hand for new tech partnership announcements, according to a U.S. official. Trade deal. The UK was the first country to strike an agreement to avoid Trump's Liberation Day tariffs back in April. But the new agreement hasn't come into force yet and it's unclear when it will. Happening later. Trump and Starmer are expected to participate in a joint news conference after which the U.S. president is scheduled to fly back to the United States. Bug hotel, and diplomatic honey. The Princess and the First Lady head outdoors. Catherine, Princess of Wales, is hosting First Lady Melania Trump for an event with young scouts, a more rustic joint appearance following Wednesday's elaborate state visit. Joined by Chief Scout Dwayne Fields, the First Lady and the Princess are visiting a group of 4 to 6 years old working toward their Go Wild badge as part of the Scouts Squirrels program, highlighting both women's interest in the well-being of children. The event marks a strategic deployment of Kate's star power, but also provides a more humanizing moment following Wednesday's pomp and circumstance and a reminder of the royal family's work. Since her return to the public eye, Kate's appearances have largely focused on the core themes of her royal portfolio: early childhood support and education, children's mental health, and the importance of spending time outdoors. The Princess and First Lady are expected to get their hands dirty. The Scouts, according to Buckingham Palace, are building a bug hotel and collecting leaves from Windsor Castle's Frogmore Gardens to make leaf print art. The two women are expected to present the Scouts with new badges before hosting a picnic lunch for the children. The lunches, the palace said, include sandwiches containing honey made by the Princess of Wales herself from the Wales family's hives at Anmer Hall, and later, each child will receive their own bottle of White House honey gifted by the First Lady. The Princess is joint president of the Scout Association, a title she's held since 2020. Queen Camilla hosts Melania Trump for tour of Royal Library treasures. Queen Camilla hosted First Lady Melania Trump for a private tour of Windsor Castle's Royal Library, viewing a series of treasures meaningful to both countries. The joint engagement underscores the close ties the United Kingdom is seeking to build with the Trump administration at what's been a sensitive diplomatic moment, deploying the pageantry and star power of the royal family to impress. Joined by curator Elizabeth Ashby and royal librarian Dr. Stella Panayotova, the First Lady and the Queen observed a series of miniature books and other rare items, including a miniature Sherlock Holmes book and a copy of A. A. Milne's Vespers, the first literary appearance of Christopher Robin. While they did not make formal remarks, the Queen and the First Lady chatted animatedly about the collections. "Oh, beautiful, this is very nice," the First Lady said. "They're such treasures," said the Queen. Trump and Camilla later visited with local schoolchildren who were working on their own miniature books. "You need to have very small writing so you can put all of the story inside the small book," Trump told them. For every state visit, Panayotova said in a video released by the royal family, the Royal Library team selects material and prepares an exhibition for their guests, aiming to create a sense of a shared past. The First Lady, who will later appear alongside Catherine, Princess of Wales, wore a dark tan leather suit with skirt for the engagement. The Queen and First Lady flipped through a collection of old master drawings by Leonardo da Vinci and Raphael, then observed a 16th-century poem and drawing from Queen Elizabeth I, as well as King Charles I's copy of Shakespeare's Second Folio, annotated by the King in the 17th century.